Hey, what is going on, guys? It's DK, back at you with another video here to predict on the 3-game CSGO main set on Friday. Before I get into the video, if you guys are new to the channel, my name's DK. I make daily videos breaking down NBA, NFL, and esports daily fantasy sports slates, esports including Call of Duty, League of Legends, and this one, CSGO. So, yeah, with that out of the way, let's jump in the video. Before we get into players and their prices for this slate, what we can do is we can look back at my lineup here from Thursday. So Thursday, honestly, I never really had a great feel going into the 3-game slate. This is my final lineup. Disappointing. I had Navarre in the captain spot. We'll talk about that here in a sec. Paired him with Maka. I actually want Hunter as well, so I did a more contrarian build, playing 2 players from one side, 1 from the other. Played 2 players from Vitality there. Apex was solid. RBK was a letdown for value. And then Elon, I talked about as a more contrarian spend up compared to a guy like Zywoo, who was pretty chalky. Yeah, all in all, again, it was really, Navarre in the captain spot. It just hurt me. And we saw something. Let's go over some stats here that was very, very out of the ordinary for Heretics. So, Heretics is a team that has been led by Maka, Navarre. They have really carried this team for this whole tournament. And this game, for whatever reason, it was the XMS and Kiyoshima show. Yeah, that was out of nowhere. Did not expect that one bit. And it just really threw me off. I watched a lot of that, and I really couldn't believe my eyes, because XMS and Kiyoshima have been carried literally this whole tournament, and they just both played great today. They were, 2 of the top players on the team, which again, it really, really surprised me. CS:GO at DFS just in general is very high variance. This is not NBA. NBA a lot more predictable. CS:GO, I mean, if you guys have been playing it DFS for a while now, CS:GO, huge upsets happen all the time. Like, good players and good matchups will sometimes underperform. It's harder to predict for sure than NBA. Like I said, it's a very high variant game. For the G2 side, I mentioned Hunter and Nexa being my favorite play of those top 3 guys for their prices, whereas Kenny S has had a awful day. Now, he's had back-to-back really, really bad days, and his price has dropped a lot, so I'll talk about that. Again, I kind of like buying low on guys. After 2 bad games for Kenny S, you got to assume he's going to bounce back soon. So for that reason, I kind of like him on this slate. Again, I think it's going to lower his ownership after a really bad day like that, going negative 22. But we'll talk about that more in a sec, I guess. I just want to bring that up on the Heretic side. That really surprised me. Really out of nowhere, as XMS and Kiyoshima kind of led the team. Did not see that one coming at all. Let's take a look at some Vegas odds here. So, we have a 3-game slate. Team Spirit versus Virtus.pro. Team Spirit are minus 155 favorites. We have Astralis versus FaZe. This one I am really, really excited about. We have Astralis minus 235. And the G2 game, they don't have up there yet versus Vitality. Let me see. Actually, give me 1 sec. Let me see if they have it on this other esports betting website, esportsbets.com. I'm just bringing up my phone really quick to see if they have it up yet, because I realize they don't have it up on Bovada. If it loads, let's see. It's not going to load for me. Hold on. Okay, there we go. Let's see. There's a lot of games on here, so bear with me 1 second. No, I don't see it up here. Okay. All right. I mean, not the end of the world. I mean, we will get that up before the game starts, but we don't have it when I make this video right now. So let's talk about the first game, Virtus.pro versus Team Spirit. These early games, it's kind of been a theme, at least the last 3 or 4 days. This is another game that I think is going to be low owned. Now, again, I kind of have said that last couple of slates, but it just seems like this early game is the game that goes under the radar. And, we saw it with those win strike guys, right? I mentioned I like them a little bit better because we knew kind of where the production was coming from. We had some decent scores from the win streak guys. Besides Hobbit. Hobbit was a little bit of a letdown, but Elon was solid. A couple of those other guys had pretty decent days as well. They won in 2-0 fashion. So let's talk about both these teams here. Virtus.pro, on that last slate, they were all really priced up, so they're more contrarian plays. Like James, Buster, and Cuker were all over 9K. Now they're more reasonably priced. So now I have a lot more interest in these guys. They're not just contrarian plays. They're guys that I do have interest on, for this 3-game slate. James at 8.4K, I do like. He's their AWPer. Again, I do think, he does have the most upside in my opinion, but now you're getting a little bit of a discount off those, Buster and Cuker. So normally these two guys are priced around the same price tag. Now they're a little bit different, right? Buster, you're getting a $1,200 discount. Cuker, you're getting a $1,400 discount. So personally, for their prices, I think I like Cuker and Buster a little bit more than James. Doesn't make James out of play. I just think if we're talking about price, right, I just think I like those guys slightly better for their price than James. But again, I still have interest in James. I think you can run a stack of VP if that's the direction you want to go, whether it be a 2 or 3-man stack. Again, if you throw James, Cuker, and Buster all in there, that's still giving you decent salary remaining, right? 9.1K remaining. I know he has to still play a captain, but still, like that's something that is very valuable and something I'm going to consider for sure. They're pretty reasonably priced, these VP guys. Adrian and Sanji, it's kind of the same story with these guys every time. They're cheap price tags. I think they're okay. Adrian did have, back-to-back pretty decent games at 51 and 62 fantasy points for his price. So I think I would slightly prefer him to Sanji, I guess, if you're looking for a cheaper option. Again, normally with these value guys, you are kind of hoping for the 2-0. If it goes 3 maps, normally they kind of underperform most of the time, right? It's not saying that happens every time, but that's kind of what you're hoping for when you're targeting those cheap guys. But all in all, again, this team in general, they are underpriced compared to the last slate, obviously. James, Buster, Cuker, I like all 3 of those guys a good amount. I think I prefer Buster and Cuker for the prices. Doesn't make James out of play, though. On the Spirit side. So, let's take a look at some stats here. Again, this one should stay close, right? VP is the 24th team in the world. Team Spirit's the 19th ranked team in the world. If we're just looking at, kills per round and rating 2.0, they all do have decent stats. But, the guy that stands out the most is Mir, with a 0.75 kills per round, 0.64 deaths per round. Whereas the next highest guy in his team, I believe, is Sum Dai Young. They have his name as Sum Dai Young on Draftkings. On here, it's SDY. But he's rating a pretty nice 0.69 kills per round, 0.58 deaths per round, and a 1.14 rating 2.0. So now let's take a look at some of their prices. Mir is at the top at 8.6K. Again, he does, if we're just looking at DraftKings fantasy points, he's the guy that has the most upside on his team with 95 and 82 fantasy points. And again, on the stats on HLTV.org, also again, he has the most upside with 0.75 kills per round. But looking at the other plays, Chopper, IDS Balance, Sum Dai Young, and Magic. I think it's really Sum Dai Young that stands out the most to me at a 6.2K price tag. I like this price tag a good amount if you want to go the Spirit side. Just because, again, looking at stats compared to his team, he's got the second highest rating 2.0 and the second best KD ratio compared to everyone else on his squad. So, and you're getting him at the second cheapest price tag on his team. So, I think he's the player that stands out the most to me on the Spirit side. And if you want to go a stack, maybe just a 2-man stack, right? I think pairing Sum Dai Young with Mir is a good way to go about it. So that's kind of the way I would attack this game. Those would be the 2 options I would consider the most on the squad. Next, we have G2 versus Vitality. So we don't have the Vegas odds out for this one yet. I think it should be a pretty close game. Personally, I think I give the slight edge to G2. I just think they're a slightly more balanced team, whereas Vitality, again, Zywoo kind of does carry the load. But yeah, let's talk about the players now. So, Hunter, Kenny S, Nexa. Nexa's a guy that I'm so tilted with. I've played him so much waiting for that big day. Didn't play him today, and he did have one of his better games. I think he had like 80 fantasy points, something around that. He's still at a pretty cheap price tag here at 7K. So I do have interest in him. Again, these are the 3 guys that do carry the squad. Hunter, Kenny S, Nexa. So I have interest in all three. Now, Hunter, he's a guy I've been playing a lot as well recently. He is now the most expensive guy. So I still have interest, but I think I prefer Kenny S now. Now, bear with me here. I know he's had back-to-back really, really bad days, right? He went negative 22 today. He only had 40 fancy points there against Astralis, going 29-37. I just think he's going to bounce back, right? I like buying low on guys. It's going to lower his ownership. Again, I've talked about that a lot in my NBA videos, in these CSGO videos with the guy like Rops, right? We know the breakout game's coming soon. Kenny S, after back-to-back bad games, you got to figure a good game's going to come from him soon. And again, that's going to lower the ownership because he's burned a lot of people the last two games. But before that, he was absolutely on fire, right? Again, clutch after clutch, 90, 79 fantasy points. This guy has a lot of upside. He uses the op too, which is a big plus, right? Using that sniper is huge. It's the most powerful gun in the game for sure. So, yeah, I do like Kenny S a good amount as kind of a buy or low option. So personally, again, this is the way I look at it. I think Kenny S is my favorite play. I think he's going to be the lowest owned of those three. So for that reason, I think he is my favorite. Nexa and Hunter are very viable as well. This team in general, they're pretty appealing price tags, right? Those top three guys, 8K, 7.4, and 7K, are very reasonable prices. Jax and Armanac are still viable as well. I'm going to give the edge to Jax, who has, I think, flashed a little bit more upside compared to Armanac. He's the guy that can get you 60, even 70 on a good day at a 5.6K price tag. If you want to go that route and pair him with, one or two of these guys at the top, I don't think that's the worst idea. If you're going more of a stars and scrubs approach, you're going to have to play probably one, maybe even two of these really cheap guys. Again, we have guys like Zaiwu on the slate. We have Nico. We have Device. We have some expensive players where that is a very valuable build, going more that stars and scrubs approach. So Jax at 5.6K, if you think G2, if you think they pull out the win here, I think he makes for a decent value option. And let's move on to Vitality. So again, this is more of a team that kind of gets carried by Zaiwu, but he's 10.4K. So the big question is, do you want to pay this much for Zaiwu at a 10.4K price tag? I think he is certainly in play, but man, this price, it makes it tricky for sure, for me at least. When he is the guy that uses the op, he against, again, that game against Fnatic, I will not get over it. That insane game where he had like 150 fancy points. Just a crazy, crazy game there. But it's at a 10.4K price tag. So I think he is in play, but you're going to have to take a shot in one or two of those really cheap guys. The big question is, do you want to take that risk? Or do you want to go more balanced? Personally, right now, I think I like the balanced approach a little bit more. Again, some of those guys on the VP side, right? Those G2 guys look pretty appealing for their price tag. So I think I like that going that route a little bit more than the stars and scrubs approach. So for that reason, I think I am going to avoid Zaiwu. I'm not saying you guys should. If you want to get him in there, I think him and Nico are probably up there for having the most upside in the slate. It's just you're going to have to sacrifice a lot to get him in there. Now we have Shox, Apex, Mistu, and RPK. So Shox is the guy that they do give, when they use two ops, they do give it to Shox. So he is a guy that will use the op every once in a while. Again, a lot of teams will use two ops here and there. So, that is a positive that he is a guy that does, is able to run that op here and there. He's at a 6.8K price tag. He's had back-to-back good games, 73 and 82 fantasy points. Before that, though, it's a little shaky, right? 13, 42, 39, 19, right? So he's playing well, but do you expect this to continue? I think, again, he's looked good. He looked really good today. So I think he's certainly in play. And the only other guy I'll bring up here is RPK. I know he was a letdown. He let me down today, only putting up 28 fancy points. But it's just a really, really cheap price tag. And if you want to go more that Vitality route, right, if you want to get a couple pieces from Vitality, you can. This is a guy that would allow you to get Zaiwu in your lineup. A 4.8K RPK, it kind of makes sense for roster construction purposes. So, these are guys that if you go more that stars and scrubs approach, you're going to have to take shots on. So yeah, all in all, again, it's obviously Zaiwu is the top play if you can get to him, and then I would probably say Shox, then RPK for me. But let's move on to FaZe versus Astralis. So this one, I am super excited to watch this match. Both these teams have been on fire recently. It should be a good one. Again, the betting odds here, They do give Astralis the favorites here, minus 235. I still think it could go either way. Now, we're looking at price tags here. Who kind of stands out? Nico, his price actually went up a little bit, or actually went down slightly to 9.8K. So his price tag doesn't really stand out. The price tags that stand out to me are the three guys in the mid-tier, Brokey, Cold, and Rain. They were at, in the 8K range, the high 7s. Now Brokey's at 6.8, Cold's at 6.2, Rain's at 6K. All three of these guys have flash upside for this FaZe team, right? We've seen big games from Cold, putting up 90 plus. We've seen 80 fancy point games from Brokey. He's been really consistent. Rain as well, right? So all three of these guys have the upside, 80, 88, right? So I like the price tags on these guys a good amount. They all drop significantly. I'm not saying Nico's a bad play. I do like Nico if you can get to him. But again, you're going to have to play some suboptimal plays. You're going to have to play a couple of those really cheap guys. So it's all about how do you want to attack this slate? Personally, I like more of the balanced approach. Again, I like those VP guys, I like the G2 guys. I like some of these FaZe guys, Brokey, Cold, and Rain. They all seem a little bit too cheap to me. But if you want to go more of that Stars and Scrubs approach, right? If you want to get Nico, if you want to get Zywu, then you got to consider a guy like Olaf Meister, 4.4K. That's a really, really cheap price tag. I think he's fine, right? If you can get 40, 50 fancy points out of him, that's all you need. Again, you're kind of hoping for the 2-0 from him. Are you going to get a 2-0 against Astralis? I guess there's a chance, right? But not a great chance. So, yeah, again, Nico, he has upside at 9.8K. It's just you're going to have to sacrifice a little bit to get him in there. Not saying he's a bad play, and I just personally, hold on, give me one sec. I just personally like the more balanced approach for this one. And then lastly, the Astralis guys. So we have Device, Magix, ZipX, the top three guys. I've been playing ZipX almost every single slate, and he stands out again at 7.6K. He's been really, really solid, really consistent, doesn't really have, rarely has an off game, and you're getting him at a really cheap price tag. Him and Device, we're just looking at the fantasy points per game, right? Device at 63.9, ZipX at 60.5. So very, very similar. And you're getting ZipX at a $1,400 discount. So once again, ZipX really stands out to me. I still like Device too. Again, he's the guy that uses the op on the team. I do have interest there. Magix is fine. I prefer ZipX for less there, for $800 less, or $600 less, sorry. And then let's talk about Dupree and Glave here. So they're now priced the same at 6.4K. Glave is a guy who 3 straight games is a pretty good games, right? 74, 65, and 55 fancy points. Whereas Dupree, a little bit more, he's been struggling up and down. He's very, very up and down, right? But he is a guy, right, -1 there against Ninjas and Pajamas. But we've seen 70 fancy point games from him before. He seems to be a guy that goes in first a lot in those gunfights. So he's more of a very, again, risky play. But if he's having a good day, you could really see a pretty good day for Dupree for his price tag. So for that reason, again, if we're talking about safety for a cheap option, it probably would be Glave. But if you're shooting for more of the upside play, the more boom or bust play, it probably would be Dupree. Again, he always seems to be in those first gunfights, whether it be dying first or getting the first kill. So that's more of a boom or bust value play that I think are certainly viable. So, yeah, I think, let's talk about captains now, I guess. So, who am I considering for the captain spot? Again, I kind of hinted that I like the balanced approach in the slate, and that's probably going to be the way that I go. So, I'm not saying Zywu, Nico, Device are bad plays, but I just think I like guys for a little bit less. So, again, guy like Hunter or buying low on Kenny S was a back-to-back bad game. ZipX, I've been playing him almost every single slate. I think he's too cheap. Those other VP guys, right? Q-Kurt's at a pretty cheap price tag. And then, Nexa too, as well as those mid-tier FaZe guys, Brokey, Cold, Rain. So that's probably where I'm going to look personally. If you want to go that Spirit side, right, some Die Young looks pretty decent as well. And not, if you plug him in the captain spot, that's 9.3K. But yeah, I think that's basically it. Again, I think if we're talking about which games are going to be low owned, again, I think it's this first game. Once again, it's going to be the lowest owned game on the slate with VP versus Spirit. I think it could go either way. The Spirit side, again, it's MIR. and Someday Young for me. I do like Someday Young a good amount at a 6.2K price tag. On the VP side, it's those top 3 guys. I guess my favorite play would be Q-Curt, but Q-Curt Buster, I think I slightly prefer to James just because they're cheaper price tags. The G2 versus Vitality side, on the G2 side, you have Hunter, Kenny S next at the top. I think my favorite play would be Kenny S just because I like buying low on guys. I think it's going to lower his ownership after back-to-back bad games. But yeah, all 3 are certainly viable. Jax for value is in play as well. On the Vitality side, again, ZywOo, if you want to go more that stars and scrubs approach. Shox, again, he's their secondary offer. I think he is certainly viable after back-to-back good games. RPK, if you want a really cheap value play to pair with ZywOo. On the FaZe side, again, I'm not saying I don't like Nico. I just like the price tags a little bit better on those mid-tier guys like Brokey, Cold, and Rain. And then on the Straw side, I think Zipex would probably be my favorite play for his price. But again, Device, the offer if you want to get to him. He's certainly viable. Dupree, again, he's more of the boomer bust value play, but we've seen some upside from him. And yeah, again, and normally, guys, on these smaller slates, I like going with a 3-3 stack. A 2-2-2 stack is viable as well. If you want to get contrarian, again, you could go, playing 2 players from one team and 1 player from the opposite team is more a big contrarian build. That's going to be more unique. But we've seen, if a game goes really close, right? If it goes 2-1 fashion, all the games are close, you could definitely see, a player on the losing team in the winning lineup for Draftkings. So, yeah, I think that is going to do it for the video, guys. If you have been enjoying the content so far, I would really appreciate if you hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already. Closing in on 3.2 thousand subscribers. I will be back for another video to break down. I think we have a slate on Saturday for CSGO. So, yeah, I'll see you guys then. I hope you guys all stay safe and healthy. And again, I'll see you guys in the next video.